It's been a hot second since Steven Crowder has popped out of the hole wherever he crawled into, and finally, earlier today, I wasn't really paying attention or anything like that, it just came up on my YouTube feed, and I know I've been looking for it as well, and I seen his post from, I think it said the 3rd, where coming soon, I'm gonna be doing something, and then, yeah, all of a sudden, at local time for me, 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock I think it went live or something like that, but regardless, I think it's all over and done and dusted, and finally, some sensibility is brought back because, hey man, I've been a fan of Steven Crowder for a hot second. I think he does incredibly good work when it comes to political analysis. And hey, you know what? I've referenced it enough and I can finally show you. It's like, yeah, no, I put my money where my mouth is. When I think somebody does good work, I will support them 100%. And when it comes to him presenting the news, digging deep into the facts, I don't think that there's anybody better in the conservative sphere doing it as well as he does. Everybody else will just toe the line, just kind of muddle fuck around. But Crowder looks for the receipts, provides the receipts, and he's the best at what he does, in my opinion. And then I seen him on a show that, well, I used to watch, to be completely honest. I thought it was really good for a hot second. And, well, then the little fuck that's all the way on the left of the screen, who I've always had a problem with, and it was a reason why I just, decided to punch out because he decided to get a little bit too much of a role on the show, and then he tried to infiltrate the manosphere, and he's done a really shit job by exposing how many kids Tate has, just having on some tranny fuckers on his show, and yeah, just kind of being a real overall slime ball. Never really liked him. I remember back in the cut when they were just doing the first couple of episodes of this podcast at the Texas studio, just did a little folding table, and they were referring to him as the soy boy on the panel. I remember all of that stuff from back in the day, and I have nothing but respect for the amount of success that Patrick Bet-David has done, but I think his business model, it's a little odd that Steven Crowder would come back and his first appearance since the Timcast that just blown up 140,000 people were tuning in. I was watching some earlier in the day, and that's why, I wanted to do this video. Mostly, the second half, what we're going to be discussing here, that was more or less what I was going to do here, but then to just see this pop up right now, serendipitous would be the best way to describe it, because there's kind of been a vacuum, especially at the higher levels. There's been a bunch of people also popping off in the aftermath with all of the different schisms, drama, whatever the hell you want to call it, within the right, the conservative leaning side, because I know where I stand. I'm very vocal with my opinions. Just about everything is on the table in regards to my thoughts, morals, principles, standings. I'm an open book when it comes to that stuff, and I'm just going to be truthful with you guys because I respect you, and that's what I see in Steven Crowder, as somebody who respects his audience. PBD's brand, on the other hand, the way that I perceive it, and who described this? I know it was Myron from Fresh and Fit, who told, John from Modern Life Dating? I think that's what I was watching. It's just a couple of degrees separation there, but Myron accurately diagnosed the valuetainment brand. They're just going to host somebody. They're just going to ask some inflammatory questions in a hope for a prompt that somebody's going to give them viral moments. You check any of their clip channels that are out there. It's just, here's the setup, and then they just hope that somebody else is going to knock it out of the park with a really goofy response. And then they get all the clout and they get all the credit on it. Which, if you were just doing an interview show like old school Larry King, somebody who I have great respect for, and I think he's the ultimate interviewer, if we're going to come down to it, on one specific individual, because his opinions on this stuff was he prepares for his guests, but the way that he asks his questions, he has no presuppositions. He acts like he's the dumbest person in the room, and he asks all of the prying questions, and that's why his interviews, even though some at the end of his career, today I've got the motley crew, where did you put the groceries? They started to taper off a bit. But when he was in his prime, those suspenders, those big goofy glasses, they were a hallmark of a really great interview. And he wasn't trying to do it for clout. He wasn't trying to do it for any sort of clicks or likes or reposts, anything like that. No. He was just trying to get the story out there. That is not what I think the valuetainment brand does, and that's why I kind of punched out. Until I seen this interview right here, and it's like, well, this is the first time, and now we're finally getting some information as to when Crowder's going to be coming back, and at the end of this month. And it really seems like they're going to be creating something that, well, realistically, only they could probably do. Crowder and his people really do something different in the conservative media space. He's got the funding, he's got the viewership, he's got the fan base, like he's got supporters. Like it's funny on Twitter, you see the bunch of different suggestions off to the side. Yeah, you can just see them right there. You got PragerU, which is owned by Daily Wire, and you take a look at all of their affiliates. It's basically baby Daily Wire, so it makes sense that they all linked up. And then you got Mark Levin, who's got a show on Fox News, so just another talking head that, you know, he was always just going to be a poor man's Glenn Beck or a poor man's Rush Limbaugh anyways, or just, you know, baby Michael Savage. And then you got, Ben Shapiro, the most overrated fuck in the entire sphere. I've never liked that motherfucker. I was always a Milo guy, and then when Milo went a little bit spurgy, you know, peaked other pundits. But now, well, in a 2023 conservative media landscape, kind of barren right now if you're looking for authentic material, because what do you have? Daily Wire? Do I need to tread that well-worn ground at this point in time? That is just Fox News with a better digital marketing campaign. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. And then you got the Blaze. The fuck is left over at the Blaze? It was funny because, like, all of this shit works out so well today, because another one of those recommended videos that I seen on YouTube earlier this morning when I was responding to some emails and then also doing some back-end YouTube stuff, had something on in the background, and it was the Blaze show. What is that? News and Why It Matters, Sarah Gonzalez and whatever. Nick Rekieta was on there, and he was breaking down the Alex Murdoch trial, which I was watching just a little bit of the beginning of that trial, and I know it's like popular and it was trending and all that shit, and I guess there was a Netflix documentary on it. It's just long and short of it is that guy's trial got super fucked. It was incredibly boring to watch, and I just punched out because it's like, oh, okay, cool. That guy's going to get indicted on everything except for the evidence, or found guilty rather, on everything except for the evidence linking him to the actual murders, because what did they get at the end of the day? Oh, there's a Snapchat video. Okay, could they prove that he pulled the trigger? Could they pull that, could they prove anything that he actually killed his wife and his son? Very horrific crimes, and the guy seemed, at least in the time that I was watching the trial, more than sympathetic and more than shook by the crimes themselves. Like, I can see why it was popular, but watching the trial and getting the source material, yeah, that was like trying to pull out your fingernails one by one. It's like they spent hours, literal hours, opening up fucking evidence, and one goddamn box, opening up a box for an hour, and I'm like, okay, that, as engaging as guys like Nick Rekieta, the Legal Mindset, all of those guys, as engaging as their coverage is, even them, you could see them just having the life drained out of their eyes. It's like, I could do literally anything better, like shovel all of the snow off of my lawn into the backyard and then cut the grass with scissors. That would be a better way for me to spend my time than watching or consuming any of this trial. Shout out to the people that stuck around, because holy fuck, I couldn't care less. But I went into that diatribe all in which to say that, yeah, I got a little bite-sized portion of what Nick Rekieta thought of the verdict through a Blaze show, which was really no different than any other Fox News talking head show. It's like, you guys have an opportunity to do something unique here, and what do? A 60-minute segmented show with 4 people on a panel is like, okay, we'll hear from you for a second, then you for a second, okay, and then we'll throw to our guy on Skype. It's like, okay, great, we got 5 minutes, and oh, we just love to have you back. It's like, oh, anytime, and it's just fucking worthless shit. And that is genuinely, when it's not just somebody sat at a microphone, you know, just giving you a couple of minutes of the goods and then just segueing into some sort of a sponsorship read. That is your rank and file conservative media coverage when it comes to a collective of individuals. And what Crowder was detailing during some of the interview that I was listening to, well, sounds like he wants to try to do something different, and this is a guy who broke out on his own in 2009 and turned his own platform into the single largest conservative show on the internet, bar none. Like, nobody else singularly is even close. Shapiro probably could have, but, you know, them boys, they're just, you know, all about dollars instead of making sense. And before I get wiped off of this very forgiving platform, let's listen to some of the comments that were made by Crowder on the show, because we got some more video to watch here today. Very intensive video day. Anyways.
But I want to go back to your announcement. So Muck Club is coming back.
Yeah.
That's exciting. When we shared a video today, the tweet, all that stuff, right? It was like, when is it coming back?
March 20th.
Yeah, so people are dying for that. The fact that
Yeah.
that's coming back, that's big news. The question I want to ask from you is...
Can I specify one thing,
Sure,
too, with Mug Club?
absolutely.
Because we had, so many people who signed up at mugclubforever.com.
That's a nice
Some
suit.
people had signed up,
Anyways.
and so then we had this contract up, and so we left. So we want to make sure they're not shortchanged. So if you have signed up at mugclubforever.com, check your spam folder. Tomorrow you're going to get a code to pre-order and get a bunch of free time and free months to honor kind of what you left.
But I want to go...
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. March 20th. What is March 20th? Okay, so, that's 2 weeks from today, so it's going to be a Monday. Ha, ha, ha. Some very easy math, I suppose. But then he starts to get into the nitty-gritty. Not even something that he really was touching on, because maybe he had this idea in the back of his mind during the Timcast interview, which was just about 2 months old, at least 6 weeks old at this point in time. Like, it presaged all the Eliza Bleu shit, and yeah, it really kind of kicked off this schism, in my opinion, when it comes to conservative punditry. Is that what we want to call it? Independent content creation. Yeah, I would play the entire source video, but again, it's just Pat asking leading questions. So it's like, okay, buddy, so you sit down and it's like, who's the biggest podcasters that you have out there, buddy? You got like Jake Paul, you got Joe Rogan, who's my close personal friend, and what are like the top 28, 30, 40, 50 right-wing conservative media outlets? Do you want to be a part of that? Tell me who you think is not good at their show, buddy. Buddy, tell me. It's like, can we just talk about what I'm going to be doing? Because I could give a fuck what everybody else is doing, but I'll let Steven opine on this.
What are some things a talent is going to get from teaming up with you that they may not get at other places?
Having experience with stand-up, it's a perfect example. When you're doing stand-up, right, when you start out, you're starting doing whatever it was. Like when I was, you're middling.
Okay, yeah, this analogy
when you're on
again.
the road, you're being paid. You're getting a few $100s to middle to feature. And then if you're a headliner, you might get $1,500 for the whole weekend. And then you reach a certain point where you're doing these venues, they give you a minimum guarantee. Okay?
Yep.
So this is not reinventing the wheel. A minimum guarantee doesn't matter if your aunt, your uncle, and your dad show up, right? Or you say, you know what, lower that guarantee and I'll take a higher percentage of the gate.
Yeah, exactly. And you do that with somebody who's just starting out in the sphere, somebody that you see potential in but hasn't proven themselves yet. So you give them a higher guarantee, some upfront money. What the fuck is money? Upfront money, in order for incentive to be there for you to just kick them in the ass and see what the hell they can do, as opposed to somebody who's more established. You bring them in and then you give them a cut of the revenue of what they bring in. That makes sense.
So when I do live shows, I say, like, give me basically the closest you can to no guarantee and the highest percentage of the gate. That's all it is. It's a
proven
sliding
commodity,
scale. You
right?
always need to have upside to be incentivized, and especially when they're content creators, you always need to have some ownership and autonomy in the realm of comedy. Or some people want more of a guarantee. So this side is more of an employee. This side is basically you're doing a revenue split. And depending what it is that you want or need, if it's production, if it's editing, if it's social media, that changes the percentage. You can bet on yourself, get a higher percentage of the gate. Or we also have options where there's a higher minimum guarantee. It's not reinventing it. This is how it works in the entertainment industry. The only place it doesn't work that way is in, that I've experienced, is in the right-wing media sphere.
No, that's 1,000% correct, because you remember when he went over the contractor, it's an offer sheet, and he threw away $50 million. And it's like, do you know how restrictive that contract was? I remember going over it. A lot of people went over it, and a lot of people had really dumb fucking takes on it, but for people that could see what it was, 110% fully set of penalties if you triggered every single box that was down there. So that $50 million was for his entire catalog, the entire production budget. And they also, as was figured out during this interview, was that, they went back and forth multiple times as well, and once again, to tread over this well-worn ground. Like, this wasn't just an exclusive Daily Wire thing. This was an industry-wide problem. You don't want to incentivize anybody. You just want to penalize them. You just want to toe the line, put out the lukewarm content, don't rock the boat, but then just continue to fight really hard on the very mundane issues. And that's why the right continues to lose. That's why I like what Crowder's doing. I think we got one more clip.
What are some things a talent is going to get from team?
But here, I don't know if I heard this clip. I only listened to the first little bit, and I'm like, okay, cool, great, wonderful, fantastic. You're just not asking any important questions. But Here's the little inflammatory clip. I don't know, is this the best performing one that's out there? Really kind of looks like it, depending on which metrics you want to use. It's newer by about an hour if we refresh. It's got all the hallmarks of the super success, but here's the red meat.
What could Daily Wire had really done anything to have kept you?
Really? And by the way, it wasn't just them, just to be clear. There've been a lot of suitors.
Yeah.
The answer to that question is yes. Like there wasn't nervousness because he was like, I just don't like these guys and I don't want to do anything with them ever.
Yeah.
It was like, I really want something to be possibly to be able to work out. But he said it many, many, many times. There was just something in there that we've specifically gone into it that just is a non-starter. All the other terms, all the other stuff you get to, right, in negotiations. That was the thing that I didn't like. It was like, of course you negotiate, yes. But if there's something in there that basically says in this term sheet that you're going to do something that it's antithetical to who we are, then no, we can't get past that. Like that's just something that's never going to work. So that's why he said, look, just take me out of this. Let's just talk about the movement. He's talked about a bench. That's part of the vision of what we're doing. How is there?
The bench. Yeah, this is from a little bit later. I don't think I've seen this part, but yeah, talking about restocking the bench with conservative pundits that actually have charisma that you don't just pick out from central casting. Every single one of these goddamn outlets have these same stupid broads that are on there with their white headphones that they sit and then they just do stupid reaction videos. And because they're middlingly attractive, like they're just 5s and 6s, every fucking outlet has them, regardless of political affiliation. They pick them because they know if they go too hot, then it's just going to be too obvious. They just pick the ones. It's kind of like you take a look at your top OnlyFans girl or earners. Yeah, you got Black China up at the top. I think she's still the top earner. But then right underneath of that, you kind of got the girl next door ones. The ones that kind of look attainable. The ones that kind of look relatable. And that's what they do. They cast them directly. They don't really have any opinions of their own. They just have them comport to whatever they need them to, and outside of the confines of Daily Wire, PragerU, The Blaze, how many of these exact same girls worked at Fox at any point in time and then see what happens to them after Fox? Like, yeah, you can point out one Megyn Kelly, but outside of that, how many of those other girls that would sit on the end in the leg chair, what did their careers go on to do? Nothing. It's the same old failed tactics over and over and over and over again. Crowder's talking about building up a bench. People who just need a chance. People that just need to get put on. Because, yeah, Crowder's got a bad ticker. Okay, he had to have surgery last year. He could theoretically drop, and I don't wish this on anybody at any fucking moment like that. And who's going to fill his shoes? If anything happens to Ben Shapiro, again, I don't like him, but I don't want anything bad to happen to him. How many people does Daily Wire have, and how many of them are fucking interchangeable? Oh, you got guy with glasses and beard, cool. That's different than guy in a blazer and pompadour. Like, okay, cool, wonderful, fantastic. They all parrot the same fucking talking points. There's nothing different at all whatsoever. One talks about, we got, what exactly is a woman? And then the other one just has little titties and you kind of think is a reasonably attractive woman. Nothing against these folks. They have just been cast for a role, and that they think that, oh, this is how we're gonna curtail the movement. So yeah, if we see any tangible action behind what Crowder's gonna be doing, I'm gonna be paying attention to this stuff. Because what they're doing right now, at least what it sounds like, that's what ultimately I want to do. Because I see a lot of people online just needing their break. They just need a shot, and then they can knock it out of the park. People with a similar mindset that I have, a little bit more conservative, but don't quite adhere to all of the mainstream conservative talking points. We'd probably differentiate on just a couple of issues, but more or less, yeah, we'll probably get along with a lot of that stuff as well. Don't really see the world through a moralistic lens, kind of just accept the things for what they are instead of what you want them to be. You can always try to move towards what you want them to be, but you have to use the world the way that it is, not the way that you want it to be. You have to be realistic about the situation. I don't see many people doing that, especially when it comes to the upper echelons of that. So that's where I think that there is a big gap in the market, and that's what I'm ultimately trying to fill on a daily basis. I'm doing what I can, just waiting for my break. I know eventually I'll get there, and it's thanks to good people like you that are listening to this content. People that are waking up from just watching disingenuous content, I guess is one way we can categorize it, or just really valueless, substanceless content. Kind of like, I guess is it time to roast this dude? I think it's about time to roast this dude because I've been paying attention to him. And I made allusions to my opinions on him as well. Like, I think that Jeremy from The Quartering does a really good job at showing how you can make even a modicum of talent incredibly successful. Just ludicrous amounts of hard work. Like, this guy's out there in the lab working every fucking day. It's an amazing amount of work ethic, and he puts a significant amount of effort into making sure that he has that amount of content. I think he says he does a morning show, 5 videos a day. I know he's got a team of people as well, like an editor and a meme guy and a thumbnails guy and a description. I'm sure he just sits in front of the camera and he parrots out whatever he thinks about a different topic or whatever. The 5 different things that he does. That's a lot of fucking work in and of itself. Like, that's multiple hours researching your topics, getting everything together, doing a couple of takes, doing a couple of cuts as well. If you're not quite liking the way that one piece of content came out, you come back, you run it back once again. I know. I do all of the stuff by myself. What you see in front of the camera, the end product of that stuff, is normally, I would say, whatever the runtime of a video is, 3, 4, depending on the length of the video, like maybe, about 3 or 4 times longer than that. That's at least what it takes. Like a 15-minute video, if I'm to properly characterize that, from concept all the way to publishing and completion, no word of a lie, probably about 2 to 3 hours. Anything more than that, like if I get an hour-long video, 45 minute long to about an hour-long video, it's definitely 3, pushing 4 hours long. Like, and I got a very, very good shout out. Finally, I got all the pieces that I needed to get my good PC up and running. Like, that bitch is a fucking cooking every single day, and that's with top tier equipment. And still, it's like my creative juice is flowing every single day. And if I had somebody else on my team, I'd probably be able to match that content. If I had other people doing descriptions, doing titles, doing thumbnails, editing, even, like a producer to pick out topics, I would be able to sit in front of a camera, okay? I would just be able to be the charismatic me in front of the camera, not just the guy who's just sitting in front of a screen just trying to type everything out. That's not why I'm being critical of Jeremy. His work ethic in front of the camera, very few people can match that. It's just his justification for some of his topics. And like I said before, I alluded to it a couple of different times, in the way that he attacked Eliza Bleu. I really like the outcome. I really like what he did with the Eliza Bleu files, staying on her ass the entire time. It's just, the more I look at it, the more I realize that he's just cut from the same cloth that Tim Pool is. 100%. He's still a big simp at the end of the day. This is somebody who is terminally blue-pilled. He's the guy who wifed up the first girl that touched his pee-pee. Nothing wrong with that. They might have a beautiful relationship, and that was the norm back in the cut. You marry your high school or your college sweetheart, and then you just live off into the distance. But when you start attacking shit that you don't have the slightest clue on, that's when we have problems. And the way that he's lashing out irrationally when it comes to right-wing commentators, it's like, bro, you simp for one of the biggest chameleons that has been outed right now in Sydney Watson. The only reason that you went so hard in the paint when it came to Eliza Bleu, if it was just you getting censored off of Twitter, you wouldn't have gone nearly as hard. No. You were white knighting for one of the original internet e-girls in Brittany Venti. Like, come on, man. And then the way that you lash out every single time against guys in the manosphere, red-pilled guys. And then he tries to take credit for taking down Jack Murphy. Bro, everybody in that sphere knew about the lumber cuck. Everybody knew that he was sending his girl to get plowed out on Tinder every other fucking week. Like, come on. You're going to try to take credit for that. Bro, if anything, the thing that absolutely killed it was probably Rakeda and Drex's stream on New Year's Eve 2021. Like, you made a lot of videos. You were attacked. Again, you were enemy number 1 behind the paywall of the Seminole Order. You didn't go nearly as hard on that as you did on Tim Pool, on Eliza Bleu. You were the direct target on that one. You had all the heat, all the sauce on one rogue actor, and now you're just trying to paint everything that you don't like as, oh, see, they're just all secretly gay. And there were some other threads that I seen as well that, he subsequently deleted. Just weird how all of this stuff just disappears. He was talking about new conservative. I'm sure if I cared all that much, but we basically get the gist from this stuff. Oh, there's a schism that's there, and these people aren't true conservatives. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And you are? But he was talking about how, people are too caught up in whole trans rights issues, and they should be more concerned about Epstein's flight logs. It's like, what the fuck are you even talking about, bro? That is a monumentally stupid fucking take. People didn't give a fuck about the gay issue back in the cut, and now take a look at where we're at, and you're telling us to worry about what a bunch of elites are doing out on a fucking island? Yeah, guess what? People who are in power want more power over broader swaths of humanity. That shit has been the norm for how many decades? What are you directly going to do about that? Fucking nothing. Make a couple of videos on it. What can you do about this whole push towards transgenderism? Quite a bit of stuff. You can be incredibly vocal about it before it permeates the schools that your lack of children aren't going to. I'm very hard on that issue because I see the mutilation that's happening. I see the slippery slope for what it is. Even though, I don't have any kids right now. But if you don't run it back and you don't properly diagnose this problem right at its root, then you're just consistently wiping the pus off the gangrenous limb. You're not getting to the root of the problem. You don't want to address that because you don't want to upset any of the females that are in your audience. And that's what happens to these guys. They get golden fucking handcuffs. You just want to stay on the internet. You need to continue to be right there in the algorithm. And shout out to Jeremy because he pounded that bitch into relevancy. But now, because he got caught once again with a fucking bad take, now he just lashes out at the people that are calling him out and is like, no, you're all gay. I'm not stupid. What? Loads of right-wing commentators are either closeted gays or tranny chasers. Fuck are you talking about? Look, I accept and support them. See, he's already presupposing his ludicrous assertion. But many of these people you think are based in red pill love trans cock or, well, cock in general. Deal with it. You're gonna have to provide any sort of receipts on that one because we know you have this obsession with Jack Murphy, rightfully so. That shit is fucking hilarious. But outside of somebody who likes a train run on his girl, I don't know. I don't really know. Look up your based and red-pilled America First heroes and terms like Catboy. Yeah, Nick Fuentes is a cum detective and a Catboy, but he's also fucking irrelevant in the grander scheme of things. Like, that kid he's sharp. He knows how to get around. Not like that, but like that as well. And he also roasted your queen, Sydney, on You Are Here and is named in her lawsuit, so it makes total sense that you're running cover for her. Like, come on. Nick Fuentes can be a total fucking degenerate, but he can also be smart on certain aspects. And if you did your work, you did your job and you did your research on that, you would have figured it out as well. Just go check your girl on how she tanked the MRA movement in Australia before she left town on that one. But no, Jeremy's big feminist. But yeah, that's the one that he deleted that had the new conservative that's on there. Yeah, more concerned about trans rights. He deleted that, but not the rest of this. The modern right wing is controlled and psyop. OPPED. Right, okay. See, anything that I don't like is a psyop. Sounds familiar. They are worse NPCs than the left. Interesting. Somebody who's going on a multi-thread spurg out. Interesting. If it makes you mad, then unfollow. Lol. Joke's on you. Never followed to begin with. If you can't see the obvious, then I can't help you. Likewise. Most of these pundants love cock. They love drugs. They love cheating on their spouses. Well, what's wrong with the third one? It's because you're not high value enough, or you're just, so cucked by your wife. Oh well, sucks to suck, I guess. But this is from somebody who constantly gets drunk all the time, but he wants to decry drugs. It's like, bro, look in the fucking mirror. This is just all projection. You want to get mad at me? You want to spurg out in my comments, but I've seen it all. This is another reason some people just can't handle fame at all. And he does this on a semi-consistent basis. And that's why I appreciate Jeremy for what he does. Just showing how hard work will eventually pay off. Just compare and contrast him with Crowder, him with a fraction of the fame of Steven Crowder. and how both of them handle it, how both of them have a totally different support circle. Just saying. I've hung out with all these people. I've partied with these people. They are not living. They're not living in God's image. Oh, okay, cool. So you're going to purport to know God's image. Okay. They are as degenerate as they pretend to fight. Yeah. But wait, there's more. So yeah, in reference to him saying that trans problem isn't a real big issue, that you should be more focused on Epstein's flight logs and a couple of other things, but he's since deleted the tweet, so we can't fully reference it. I think he had one good point in there, but also just, thinking that, oh, we need to really drill down on all that stuff. Like, just, this is so fucking dumb. People on Main Street are worried about not being able to afford groceries and gas. World War III. World War III, huh? What are you going to do about that? But as for not being able to afford groceries and gas, well, what do you tell your audience? What do you tell your viewership when it comes to making money? Oh, just buy my coffee. Just sedate yourself a little bit more. Really winning proposition that you have there. Those are winning topics for the right. Oh, okay, cool. Small businesses closing, uncontrolled crime and violence in the cities. Those are also winning topics for the right. Yeah, all of those guys that won in the elections were talking exactly like that. Oh, wait, those are all the guys that lost, and the ones that focused on cultural issues were the ones that won. Fan-fucking-tastic. Not drag queens, refocus. No, the ones that won on those issues, like Glenn Youngkin and Ron DeSantis overwhelmingly by 20 fucking points. By the way, they were focused on culture war issues, and they won over-fucking-whelmingly. But if you want to focus on violent crimes, cool, you're talking the exact same platform that Dr. Oz was running, and how did he do? Exactly. And yes, there's still more behind door number 3. And just so I can remind people, I stand by my principles. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you willing to hang your beard on that one? Of course I want to protect kids. This hyper-focus on trans shit, however, is exactly how they want you to be wasting your time. Oh, here's at least he's refuting that, or just running this all back. That's what's trending on Twitter, not Ukraine. What the fuck are you going to do about it? Because guess what? Every single elected official is more than willing to send over your tax dollars. The ones that aren't going to be sending over your tax dollars, those are the ones that are fighting those culture war issues because they understand that Ukraine is just a fucking proxy war, you brainlet, not the Epstein list. Fuck are you going to do about that? Okay, cool. That comes out. The government already knows who's been to and fro Epstein's Island on the Lolita Express. They already fucking know. What is putting it out in the public going to do? Honestly, just go ahead. Just lay it out for me. Lay it out for me. We already have names that have already been leaked on it. Guess what? Like 95% fucking Democratic. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not East Palestine. Yeah, but Buttigieg has already been down there. Biden, under intense pressure, whenever he's asked about it, he just turns the other cheek and, well, I would say walks the other way, but he just falls down and gets himself back up, does that little weird jog for about 2 steps, and then just flies off to Delaware for the weekend. This is old boomer conservatism. Oh, just fight all of your dinner table talking points. If you want to wade into this political sphere, you need to have some receipts. You need to have been in this fight beforehand. And this is why, during the entire time that I at least had a little bit of hope for the quartering. It looks like you went and proved that to be totally fucking stupid, but, well, you know what? This is why you don't go into business with guys who are bad with women. In case you haven't figured it out, I have finally realized that Twitter is pointless. After your 90th fucking spurgy meltdown, no matter what the weird backlash that happens here, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what goes on Twitter. All right, cool. Well, it's kind of like that Sydney Watson, I'm only going to address this once. And then you made a couple more videos on it, and it's like, okay, cool. That's the point in time where I'm like, yeah, no, we're just not going to take you seriously anymore. Boobs are what matter, not Twitter. Boobs will save the planet. You are so fucking dumb. That right there, that's why I had to quote tweet it, and that's why I had to give it the caption that I did, is because Jeremy's a feminist. He really is, especially with those tweets and other ones that I seen that he had subsequently deleted as well about Eliza Bleu. I think it was a reply or a response where he said, it's like, This is something. Even though I'm critical of women and their very stupid exploits from time to time, the way that he addressed Eliza, it was just like, oh no, she's an old roasty that has a triple-digit body count. It's like, oh yeah, and you're gonna say that the based and red-pilled guys out there are the actual misogynists, that they hate women. I would never describe anybody like that. I have not. I don't personally attack anybody that's out there. I just serve somebody up as a case study. We take a look at everything. We just dissect the ideas. I'm not so dim as to just make females my mental point of origin. And like this smart fellow on Twitter says, when you're bad with women, your default is to placate to them in a time of distress. Make yourself your own mental point of origin. Shout out to Rollo Tomasi for that concept, mental point of origin. Bro, you had a brain-dead dipshit take. You've continued to double down on all of these fucking bad, spineless simp tendencies. Oh, I stand behind Sydney, even though she's crying misogyny for absolutely no good reason. Fantastic. You want to go ahead and say, oh, trans issues, the hyper-focused on trans issues is not a problem at all. But this was all kicked off right here by, well, take a look. Eliza Shaffer. So funny. Somebody who's so bad with women. Somebody who is the suspect numero uno in her very scary lawsuit that's out there. He puts this out there, and then he decides to go on this fucking unhinged rampage that trans issues aren't that big of a problem. Stop exaggerating. Trans issues aren't that big of a deal. Nobody is forcing anything on you or your family. It's not like we're openly shipping trans flags to your doorstep. See, guys, it's not that big of a problem. It's just we're sending political messaging on whatever the fuck you're buying. Because we shut down all of your small businesses, all in service of the feminine imperative. What do I mean by that? Overprotection from the government that they overwhelmingly voted for, kept you locked in your houses for 2.5 up to 3 years in some parts of the world. Still, won't let some people, shout out Novak Djokovic, into the country. Why? Because, we need to be safe, we need to be secure, we wouldn't want anybody to get the sniffles, now would we? It's funny how we can kind of wrap this all up together. Eliza Shaffer, when I first became aware of him, when he was doing spots on Crowder's show. Now, he's become target number 1 because the quartering has a crush on Sydney Watson. If he destroys his relationship over trying to touch some feminist titty, I will laugh my balls off, and I will definitely be doing just an entire hysterically laughing video whenever that shit comes out, because, hey, if their little show, whatever the fuck it's called, doesn't end up hitting like that, you know she's going to be trying to make some accusations on Jeremy's name. And how is somebody who has no idea when it comes to intersexual dynamics going to handle that? Probably about the exact same way that you see him handling all of this. So, with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.